I think we're required to ask ourselves three questions this morning. First question is this: how noticeable is your faith? How noticeable is your faith? See, I think we often get this American idea of Christianity that says our faith should be private and quiet, right? That's what we're told. We call it the private practice of our faith. The only problem is in the Bible, there is no private practice of your faith. Your faith is supposed to be on public display. Those things we talked about earlier should be on public display. Someone has rightly said about our faith, faith is always personal, but it is never private. It's always personal, but never private. The fact is, your faith should be on public display. We shouldn't just tell others about our faith. We should show them our faith. That means at work, you ought to show people your faith. At school, you ought to show people your faith. In the community, they ought to see your faith. They should see your work and your love and your endurance. They should see your ability to handle persecution, your biblical obedience, Jesus in you. You're living ready when you're willing to let the world see you following Jesus. You don't want to be hiding in a Christian corner when Jesus returns. Our Christian obedience should be obvious. That trinity of faith, hope, and love, and all those things I put on the screen that Paul said about the Thessalonica church, those should be so true in your life that no one could mistake you for anything but a Christ follower. How noticeable is your faith? There was some college football on yesterday. 2/3 of us are very happy today. Not 2/3 of it. I won't say anything about it. I'm in very much humble mode right now as a Georgia fan, but I don't know how many games you've ever gone to. Every now and then somebody does this. They'll go to StubHub or one of the Ticketmaster, and they'll buy a game to a football game sight unseen. Like they don't know where it is. They just grab a ticket at the last minute and walk into the stadium and hand somebody their ticket. But the problem with that is you never really know where you're sitting when you do that. You just think you're getting a single ticket. You know, mom and dad, couple of kids, mama didn't want to come, you'll sit next to the family or whatever. There's some danger in that. See, college football teams, they have all these traditions. You go to a Georgia game, there's some really heartwarming traditions that go on. You go to a Tennessee game, there's some really nauseating traditions that go on. And University of Wisconsin has been doing a thing since 1998 to start the fourth quarter. It started in 1998, and I think they call it jump around is what they call it, and they start off the fourth quarter this way. And a couple years ago, they were playing Michigan, and the Michigan fan had gone online and bought a single ticket, but did not know, by the way, it was on the front row of the student section. And I could tell you about it, but let me just let you watch it. Oh, I hope he got a screenshot of that and framed it and put it in his house. By the way, Michigan lost that day, so no telling what the end of that game was like. What I love about that video is, in the midst of all that pandemonium, he wasn't afraid to let you know he was a Michigan fan. You know what I've never met in college football? I've never met a secret fan. Have you? They all show up in their color. I was in the airport yesterday. Sherry and I flying home. Everybody had different colors on. Alabama, Crimson Tide on. Georgia, I heard quite a few Go Dogs. Some other people had an ugly orange stain up in the corner of their shirt. And it's just, but we proudly represent our allegiance in college football, just like that poor Michigan fan who, though he was sitting in the wrong section, did not take his shirt off. But listen, I wonder if we represent Jesus just as proudly. Is it more obvious that you're a football fan than it is you are a Christ follower at your school, where you work, in your online activities, at the rec department with your family? See, if I took away your words, would people know that you follow Christ? Hear me this morning. Jesus is coming. How noticeable, how ready is your faith? We all ought to have on display a noticeable faith that is doing all of those things Paul talked about. Working for the kingdom of God, laboring for the kingdom of God, enduring for the kingdom of God, living out our faith in a lost and dying culture. How noticeable is your faith? First question.